The moment your eyes landed on this message, something shifted around you, not tomorrow, not next week, but right now while you are reading these words, because people do not stop on messages like this by accident. There are millions of videos flooding screens every second, yet somehow you paused here, somehow your mind refused to move forward, and there is a reason for that. So before you continue, take one slow breath and listen carefully, because what you are about to hear may explain why your life has felt heavy for so long, why peace disappears the moment you try to rest, why every time things begin improving something suddenly pulls you backward again, and if you leave this message halfway through, you may never understand what was hidden behind the struggles that followed you these past few years, because there are moments in life that look ordinary on the surface, while something deeper is unfolding beyond what human eyes can recognize, and tonight may become one of those moments. You remember forever there is a pressure surrounding your life that nobody around you fully understands. People see your smile, but they do not see the war inside your mind. They hear your laughter, but they do not hear the silent questions echoing through your chest after midnight, because lately your nights have become longer than your days, your thoughts louder than conversations, your fears heavier than sleep, and there were evenings when you sat alone staring at nothing while your heart carried a weight too difficult to explain. You tried distracting yourself with noise, scrolling, conversations, work, anything to silence the tension building inside you, but every quiet moment brought the same feeling back, that strange feeling that something is missing, something is wrong, something unseen has been draining your peace, little by little while nobody around you noticed. The exhaustion growing behind your eyes, and the strangest part is this did not begin recently, it started years ago, after one specific moment changed something deep inside you. Maybe it was betrayal, maybe rejection, maybe losing someone you trusted, maybe watching a dream collapse right in front of you. But whatever happened left a mark that never completely disappeared. You carried on pretending you recovered, while secretly carrying wounds nobody else could see. And since then, every disappointment has felt heavier, every failure has cut deeper, every delay has convinced you that maybe life was not meant to work out for you the way it does for others. There were nights when you questioned your own value, questioned your future, questioned whether your efforts even mattered anymore. And even though you kept moving forward physically, part of your spirit stayed trapped in that painful moment from years ago. But listen carefully, because this is important. Your struggle did not make you weak. It revealed how much pressure your soul has survived without breaking completely. And that is exactly why the attacks around your life intensified, because people who carry nothing rarely face resistance. Yet every time you tried building something meaningful, obstacles appeared from nowhere. Relationships became complicated without reason. Financial pressure arrived at the worst possible time. Opportunities slipped away right before reaching your hands, and there were moments you honestly wondered why life seemed harder for you compared to everyone around you. But what if the pressure was never proof that you were forgotten? What if it was proof that your future carried something greater than you realized, something valuable enough to face resistance before it could fully awaken inside you? Right now, while you are listening, there is someone sitting in darkness questioning whether their future can still change, someone exhausted from pretending they are okay while silently falling apart inside, someone who has prayed for answers but feels like nothing ever shifts, and maybe that person is you. Maybe you have reached the point where disappointment feels safer than hope, because hope hurts too much when nothing changes afterward. Maybe you stopped expecting miracles because reality trained you to expect struggle instead. But do not ignore what you are feeling right now, because moments like this have a strange way of arriving exactly when people are closest to giving up. And sometimes the smallest pause in life becomes the doorway to the biggest turning point a person has ever experienced. Something else happened recently that shook your peace more than anyone realizes. Maybe it was a sudden argument, unexpected bad news, financial stress, health anxiety, or a situation that appeared out of nowhere and left you emotionally drained. And since then, your mind has been racing non-stop, trying to understand why everything feels unstable at once. But what if that moment was not random? What if it was the final wave before things begin shifting in another direction? Because life often becomes loudest right before change arrives. Confusion intensifies right before clarity appears. and pressure increases right before people step into a completely different season of their life, which is why you cannot allow fear to convince you that your story is ending when perhaps it is only beginning to transform into something you never expected. And there is another reason you needed to hear this tonight, because you have spent too much time blaming yourself for things that were never completely your fault. You replay conversations in your mind wondering what you should have said differently. You revisit old memories searching for answers that never come. You carry guilt from mistakes that happened years ago while forgetting how much growth has already happened inside you since then. And little by little your confidence disappeared until even your own dreams started feeling unrealistic. But deep down there is still a part of you that refuses to die completely, a small voice inside that still believes your future can become greater than your past, and that voice is the reason you stopped here instead of scrolling away like everyone else. The next few moments matter more than you realize, because there are people who ignore every sign life sends them until regret becomes their teacher. They silence every warning, every intuition, every opportunity for change until they wake up one day realizing they wasted years running from the very thing meant to transform them. Do not become one of those people, because your story is not over yet, and the pain you survived was never meant to destroy you permanently. It was shaping something inside you that will eventually help others survive their own darkness too. The nights you cried alone were not invisible. The battles nobody noticed were not meaningless. The moments you almost gave up, but somehow kept going, still matter more than you know, because surviving seasons like yours changes a person in ways comfort never could. There are moments from your past you still cannot explain, situations where everything should have collapsed completely, yet somehow you survived, times when you were certain life was about to break you beyond repair, but something kept pulling you through even when your own strength disappeared, and maybe you called it luck, coincidence, timing, or destiny. But deep down you know there were moments when help arrived too perfectly to ignore, moments when protection surrounded you even while you felt completely alone, and perhaps that same unseen protection guided you here tonight because something inside you needed this reminder before hopelessness convinced you to stop fighting for your future altogether. You have spent too long believing your life would always remain trapped in the same cycle, waking up tired, carrying stress everywhere, smiling for people while silently struggling inside, watching others move forward while feeling stuck in the same place emotionally, financially, mentally, and spiritually. But cycles can break faster than people expect once they finally recognize what has been controlling them for years. And many times the first step toward change is not money or opportunity, it is awareness. The moment a person finally realizes they are not powerless anymore, the moment they stop speaking defeat over themselves every single day, the moment they stop agreeing with fear and start believing their future still holds value despite everything they survived. Because words shape more than people realize. Every day you repeat thoughts that either strengthen your mind or slowly destroy it. When you constantly say nothing will ever improve, your spirit begins accepting defeat before life even has a chance to change. But when a person chooses to believe there is still hope, even during chaos, something inside them begins rebuilding again. And tonight you need to understand that your situation may be difficult, but difficulty is not permanence. Pain is not permanence. Confusion is not permanence, and the chapter you are struggling through right now will not last forever, even if it feels endless in this moment. There is someone watching this who has not felt genuine peace in a very long time. Every achievement feels temporary because anxiety immediately replaces relief. Every quiet moment becomes another opportunity for overthinking. Every delay feels personal. Every rejection feels permanent. And slowly you started expecting disappointment before anything even happens. But imagine how different your life could become if your mind stopped preparing for disaster every waking moment. Imagine waking up without fear controlling your first thoughts. Imagine feeling calm without needing distractions. Imagine trusting that your future still carries opportunities greater than the struggles behind you, because that version of your life still exists, even if you cannot fully see it yet. And while you sit here reading these words, something important is happening inside your mind. You are remembering parts of yourself that pain tried to bury, dreams you abandoned, confidence you lost, peace you thought would never return again, and maybe for the first time in a long while you are beginning to wonder whether your future could actually become different from your past. Because people change the moment they stop seeing themselves as victims of every storm around them and start realizing they survived storms that should have destroyed them. Completely, your survival alone proves there is still purpose attached to your existence, no matter how exhausted you became along the way. Pay attention to what happens after tonight, because life speaks through patterns more often than people notice. Conversations will begin shifting, opportunities may appear unexpectedly, certain people may leave, while others suddenly enter your life, and situations that felt permanently blocked may slowly begin opening in ways you did not expect, because once a person starts believing change is possible, their entire energy begins moving differently. They stop chasing what destroys them. They stop settling for constant pain. They stop allowing fear to make every decision, and little by little their future begins responding to the mindset they finally chose to protect instead of destroy. The truth is, you were never meant to spend your entire life trapped in fear and exhaustion. You were never created only to survive while watching everyone else live fully, and even though these past years have been painful, they do not get the final word over your story, because some people break permanently after hardship, while others become stronger, wiser, calmer, and more prepared for the future waiting ahead of them. And right now, you stand between those two possibilities, which means what happens next depends on whether you continue feeding hopelessness or finally choose to believe your life can still become something greater than the pain behind you. Tonight is not about superstition, fear, or empty promises. It is about recognizing that your life still matters even after every disappointment you survived. It is about remembering that broken seasons do not last forever. It is about understanding that many people who eventually changed their lives completely once stood exactly where you stand now, exhausted, uncertain, emotionally drained, convinced nothing would improve, yet somehow everything changed once they stopped surrendering mentally, before life even gave them another opportunity. And maybe this message arrived because you are closer to your turning point than you realize right now, so do not ignore the feeling inside your chest while reading this. Do not dismiss the strange sense that something about tonight feels different, because sometimes the biggest changes begin quietly, with a single realization, a single decision, a single moment where a person finally refuses to remain controlled by fear anymore, and maybe years from now you will look back at this exact moment, realizing it became the beginning of a completely different chapter in your life. The chapter where peace slowly returned, confidence rebuilt itself, opportunities reopened, and the version of you that almost disappeared finally came back stronger than ever before. There was a night recently when your mind became so loud that even silence felt unbearable. You kept replaying every mistake, every rejection, every delay, until your chest felt heavy with emotions you could not explain to anyone around you. And while the world slept peacefully, you sat awake wondering how much longer you could keep pretending everything was normal, because people only see the version of you that survives publicly. They do not witness the private exhaustion hidden behind your calm face. They do not hear the conversations you have with yourself at 2 a.m. when fear starts whispering that maybe nothing will ever truly change. And the dangerous part about carrying silent pain for too long is that eventually you begin believing you deserve it. You start accepting struggle as your permanent reality. You stop expecting good news because disappointment trained your heart to stay guarded all the time. But something unusual has been happening around your life lately. Deep down you already feel it. Certain situations have become too strange to ignore. Certain patterns repeat themselves too perfectly. Certain emotions appear without warning. And there are moments when you sense pressure building around your future, even though you cannot fully explain why. Almost like life itself has been preparing for a shift you cannot yet see clearly. Because before major changes happen, people often experience confusion first. Old connections begin fading. Hidden truths rise to the surface, doors close unexpectedly, plans fall apart, and everything feels unstable for a while. Not because life is punishing them, but because transformation rarely arrives quietly. It shakes everything loose before rebuilding begins. You have spent years trying to hold everything together for everyone else, while secretly falling apart inside yourself. You became strong because circumstances gave you no other option. You learned how to smile through stress, how to comfort others while carrying your own pain silently, how to keep moving even when your spirit felt exhausted, and over time people started assuming you no longer needed support because you handled struggles so calmly on the outside. But strength can become lonely when nobody realizes how tired the strong person truly is. And there were moments when you wished someone would look into your eyes long enough to notice the pressure you hide behind your silence every single day. The truth is, your heart has been carrying fear about the future longer than you admit openly, fear about finances, fear about health, fear about relationships, fear that time is moving too fast while your life still feels incomplete. And because those fears remained inside you for so long, they slowly began shaping your thoughts, affecting your sleep, draining your energy, making you question yourself more than ever before. But fear grows strongest in silence, which is why tonight matters more than you realize, because the moment people finally recognize what has been controlling their peace, they also begin reclaiming power over it little by little by little, and your future cannot heal while your mind continues feeding hopelessness every single day. Something else you rarely speak about is how deeply disappointment changed the way you trust people now. There was a time when your heart felt open, hopeful, willing to believe in others easily, but after betrayal entered your life, everything changed. Suddenly you became careful with your emotions, careful with your words, careful with your expectations, because you learned how painful it feels when someone you trusted completely walks away without looking back. And since then, even good situations make you nervous, because part of you expects everything beautiful to eventually disappear. But not every chapter is designed to repeat old pain. Some seasons arrive specifically to heal what previous seasons damaged inside you. Right now, there are people connected to your life who do not fully understand your value yet. They misunderstand your silence as weakness, your patience as passiveness, your kindness as something ordinary. But eventually people recognize what they lost after distance enters the picture. Eventually they remember how rare genuine loyalty truly is. And when that moment arrives, you must not allow loneliness to convince you to return to situations that continuously drained your spirit, because growth sometimes requires walking away from environments that keep reopening the same emotional wounds over and over again. No matter how familiar those places or people once felt to your heart, there are also dreams you buried quietly because failure convinced you they were impossible, plans you stopped speaking about because too many disappointments made hope feel dangerous, talents you ignored because life became more about surviving than believing in yourself anymore. Yet those hidden desires still exist inside you for a reason. People do not accidentally carry visions that refuse to disappear from their mind completely, and many times the goals that return repeatedly are connected to the direction life keeps trying to move them toward, even when fear tells them to stay where they are, which means the dream you almost abandoned may still become part of your future if you stop allowing doubt to speak louder than possibility. Pay attention to the way your intuition has changed recently, because there are situations your spirit already knows are unhealthy even before your mind fully accepts it. There are conversations leaving you emotionally drained, environments affecting your peace negatively, and people whose energy constantly creates confusion around your life. But every person reaches a moment where they must choose between protecting their peace or protecting unhealthy attachments that continue damaging them slowly. And maybe this is your moment to finally recognize that not everyone deserves unlimited access to your energy, attention, your kindness, or your emotional space anymore. The next season of your life requires a stronger version of you, not colder, not heartless, but wiser, calmer, more aware of what deserves your time and what only steals your peace unnecessarily. Because your future cannot fully open while your energy remains trapped in constant emotional battles from the past. And sometimes healing begins when a person finally accepts that closure will not always arrive through explanations, apologies, or understanding. Sometimes closure arrives quietly when you stop chasing answers and start protecting your own peace instead, and that decision alone can completely transform the direction of someone's life over time. There is someone reading this who has been carrying financial stress so heavy that it affects every part of daily life. Even moments meant for rest become filled with worry. Every unexpected expense creates panic. Every delayed opportunity feels personal, and slowly the pressure begins stealing joy from simple things you once enjoyed easily. But remember this carefully, because financial struggle can change circumstances, yet it should never destroy your sense of worth. Difficult seasons happen to countless people silently, and many lives transformed completely after periods that once looked hopeless, which means your current situation is not permanent, no matter how trapped you feel today. And then there are the moments when your own thoughts become your biggest enemy, when overthinking convinces you that everyone is ahead of you, when comparison steals gratitude from your progress, when fear whispers that you missed your chance already. But life does not move according to one perfect timeline for everyone. Some people bloom early, while others spend years growing roots nobody else can see before suddenly rising in ways that surprise everyone around them. And maybe your delay was never punishment. Maybe it was preparation happening quietly while you judged yourself too harshly to notice your own growth. Something powerful begins changing inside people once they stop defining themselves by their worst moments. Because your failures are not your entire identity, your heartbreak is not your identity, your mistakes are not your identity, and the pain you survived should not become the only story you tell yourself forever. There is more to you than the chapters that hurt, more to your future than the seasons that almost broke you. And if you continue carrying yesterday's wounds into every new opportunity, you will eventually sabotage blessings before they even fully enter your life, which is why healing matters more than pretending you no longer care. The strange thing about transformation is that it often begins invisibly before any physical evidence appears. People feel different before circumstances change. They think differently before opportunities arrive. They carry themselves differently before results become visible, and perhaps that inner shift has already started happening inside you tonight while reading these words. Perhaps part of you is finally becoming tired of surviving emotionally and ready to start rebuilding mentally, spiritually, and personally in ways you avoided for years, because eventually pain either destroys a person or forces them to become stronger than they ever imagined possible. Do not underestimate how much your environment affects your mind every single day. The voices you listen to, the conversations you repeat, the content you consume, the people surrounding your energy constantly shape the direction of your thoughts. And if your world stays filled with negativity, your spirit will eventually become exhausted, no matter how strong you try to appear externally, which means protecting your peace is not selfish, it is necessary for survival in a world where too many people normalize stress, chaos, comparison, and emotional exhaustion, as if living without peace is completely normal. There are blessings people miss simply because they stopped believing anything good could still happen to them. Opportunities arrive quietly, while hopelessness keeps their attention focused only on fear. Relationships capable of healing them appear while past pain convinces them to push everyone away, and chances for growth pass unnoticed because exhaustion made them emotionally unavailable for change. Do not allow disappointment to blind you completely from the possibilities still surrounding your future. Because even after your hardest seasons, life continues creating unexpected paths for people who refuse to give up on themselves entirely. The pressure surrounding your life recently was not meant to convince you to surrender permanently. It was meant to reveal what still needs healing, what still needs growth, what still needs courage inside you before the next chapter fully opens. And difficult seasons often expose truths people avoided facing for years, truths about relationships, habits, fears, self-worth, and emotional wounds hidden beneath the surface, because transformation becomes possible only after honesty enters the picture. And maybe tonight is the first time in a long while you are finally being honest with yourself about how deeply certain things affected your peace. Remember this carefully, because it matters more than you know. The person you become after surviving hardship carries wisdom comfort could never teach. You notice fake energy faster. You appreciate peace more deeply, you recognize genuine loyalty more clearly, and you develop strength impossible to learn through easy seasons alone, which means your pain was not meaningless, even if you still struggle understanding why certain chapters happened the way they did, because one day the same experiences that almost destroyed you may become the reason someone else finds hope through your story too. So as you continue moving forward after tonight, stop speaking over your life as if defeat already owns your future. Stop waking up every morning expecting disaster automatically. Stop treating your dreams like they are impossible before life even gives them another chance to grow, because the mind follows the direction of the words repeated most often, and if you constantly feed yourself hopelessness, your spirit will slowly believe there is nothing worth fighting for anymore. But your story still carries unfinished chapters, unfinished healing, unfinished opportunities, and perhaps blessings. You cannot even imagine, yet waiting further ahead than your current pain allows you to see right now. The next few days may reveal more than you expect. Certain answers may finally become clear. Certain people may expose their true intentions naturally. Certain opportunities may arrive unexpectedly. And situations that felt permanently confusing may suddenly make sense in ways they never did before. Because life has a strange way of shifting once people finally choose to stop living entirely through fear. And maybe this message reached you tonight because deep inside your spirit already knows it is time to stop surviving emotionally and start rebuilding your future with a different mindset than the one pain created inside you years ago.